Now, speaking of these low-tech solutions, you talked about kelp forests before, and I wonder if you could speak a little bit about the potential of kelp regeneration to its historical ecological ranges and what that might mean for carbon sequestration through that mechanism.
I would love to talk about kelp, Jess. So I'm a SoCal surfer. I live in Los Angeles. I surf in Palos Verdes quite often, and Palos Verdes is one of the largest natural kelp forests in California, especially Southern California. However, in the last 20 or so years, Palos Verdes has lost roughly half of its kelp due to the impact of urchin barrens. And Northern California, in the last 10 years, lost 90% of its kelp cover due to the impact of climate change and urchin barrens.
What are urchin barrens? Sorry.
Yeah, so let's talk about kelp forests. So kelp forests have sea urchins in them. I think everybody knows what a sea urchin is. They're essentially a mobile mushroom. So in a land-based forest, mushrooms are the decomposers. They eat the dead plants and decaying matter and convert that to nutrients for the rest of the forest to thrive. Right? And so in the kelp forest, urchins play that role. They eat the dead kelp and dead algae and detritus, and they process it and make it more available to the other things that live in the forest. However, the problem is that if there's too many urchins, then they have to eat the live kelp too. They can't just sit on the dead kelp alone. And they start at the base of the kelp plant. So what's called the holdfast. They eat that first. Problem as soon as you eat that, then the whole kelp floats away, and there's no more kelp left. And before long, there's literally no kelp plants left at all, except for the only thing left there is sea urchins. But because they're such an ancient organism, they have this ability to actually turn into a zombie. And they can live for 50 to 100 years on no food. So what happens is, instead of having this healthy kelp forest, there's just a few urchins per square meter hiding in the rocks, waiting for kelp to fall on them. You have hundreds of urchins per square meter covering all the rocks where the kelp used to be. And they just sit there waiting for any kelp to establish. As soon as it does, they munch it right away. And they don't go away because they can live so long without food. And nothing will eat them. Like none of the predators that typically eat urchins, so like sea otters, sheephead fish, lobsters, and a few other types of organisms will eat urchins, but they won't eat the ones in the barrens because there's nothing inside them. They're essentially zombies. They don't taste good because they're not worth the risk of the spine, so there's no payoff at the end. So these urchin barrens become basically stable. And the only way to take the urchin barrens out and bring back kelp is either a natural disease that can waste all the urchins in the area, which does occur from time to time, or you could have humans come in and basically clear the urchins directly. And so that could be either commercial urchin fishermen or recreational scuba divers who go out with hammers and smash all these zombie urchins. And that's been proven very effectively to bring back the kelp forest, like quite dramatically, in fact. Because the great thing about kelp is it grows so fast. So like in giant kelp, it can grow up to 2 feet per day. Like imagine that. It's the fastest growing organism on the planet. So if you can just clear the urchin barrens, the kelp can come back within a year. You've got a fully grown kelp forest, and within a few years, you have fully restored biodiversity to where the sword forest is indistinguishable from an original forest. And on our website, we actually have transit videos. So we're actually restoring in Palos Verdes with our partner, the Bay Foundation, one of the scientists who figured this out and do the work. And seatrees funds them to restore the kelp forest. They go in and they're working in White Point, which is on the south side of Palos Verdes. They've done transects, starting with just urchin barrens, to about a year later, you can see the fully restored kelp forest. And it's quite a dramatic thing.
So who knew there was a zombie apocalypse happening out off the coast of Palos Verdes, and what we really need is some kind of well-armed band of survivors to go out and smash zombies.